What if the strongest hero Earth ever had stopped being a hero and became something even the universe couldn't control, not even Frieza himself? This is the moment everything changed forever, the moment when Frieza didn't just try to kill Goku, he tried to rebuild him. The battlefield was not Earth, not Namek, but a broken zone of space where dead planets floated like shattered memories, and silence itself felt heavy, like the universe was holding its breath. Goku stood there exhausted, breathing hard, his body already pushed beyond normal limits, yet his eyes still carried that familiar fire of a fighter who never gives up. Frieza watched him from a distance, not rushing, not angry, just calm, almost curious, like a scientist observing an experiment that had finally reached its most important stage. "You Saiyans," Frieza said slowly, his voice echoing through the empty space. "You break, you heal, you grow, but you never evolve properly. You always stay the same at your core." Goku didn't answer. He tightened his fist, sensing something wrong, something deeper than a normal attack. This wasn't just another fight. Frieza raised his hand, and behind him floated a strange device, not biological, not mechanical in the normal sense, something ancient and terrifyingly precise, built from lost alien knowledge mixed with Frieza's own obsession. "Let's fix that," Frieza whispered, and in an instant the device activated. A violent violet beam shot forward and wrapped around Goku before he could even move. At first, Goku thought it was just energy pressure, something he could break through with power. He tried to transform, tried to push into his strongest state, but something strange happened. His energy didn't explode outward like usual, it collapsed inward. His aura flickered violently, gold mixing with black, as if two versions of him were fighting inside his body. Goku screamed, not just from pain but from confusion, because it felt like his mind itself was being touched, rewritten, pulled apart and rearranged. Frieza stepped closer slowly, watching every reaction like it was priceless. "I'm not killing you, Goku," he said softly, almost gently. "I'm improving you." The beam intensified, and suddenly Goku's memories began to flash uncontrollably in his mind, training with masters, fighting for Earth, laughing with friends, protecting family. But each memory came with a twist, an emotional distortion, like something was injecting doubt into everything he believed. Strength became rage. Love became weakness. Mercy became hesitation. His body began to change on a deeper level, not physically in a dramatic way, but internally, like his instincts were being rewritten at their core. The Saiyan biology inside him, which always responded to battle with growth, was now being forced into a new pattern, one that grew through aggression without control, survival without morality, power without restraint. Goku dropped to one knee, shaking violently, trying to resist, whispering to himself, "No, this isn't me. I am Goku." But his voice started breaking, as if even his identity was becoming unstable. Frieza's eyes narrowed with satisfaction. "Yes, resist. That's what makes it interesting." And then suddenly it stopped. The beam disappeared. Silence returned. Goku collapsed forward, breathing heavily, his body steaming, aura flickering in unstable waves. Frieza turned away as if the experiment was complete. "Let's see what you become now," he said before vanishing into the distance, leaving Goku alone in the cold emptiness of space. Hours passed, maybe days, it was impossible to tell. Goku's body drifted until it crashed onto a dead moon covered in shattered rock and ash. When he woke up, everything felt wrong. The air felt heavier. His senses were sharper but unstable, like the world was too loud inside his mind. He slowly stood up, looking at his hands, and for a moment he didn't recognize them. "What happened to me?" he whispered, but even his own voice felt unfamiliar. Then came the first shift. A strange instinct rose inside him when he sensed movement nearby. Not thought, not decision, just instinct. He turned his head slowly, and in the distance he saw a group of scavenger aliens approaching, thinking they had found an easy target. Normally, Goku would warn them, "Talk first. Fight only if needed," but something inside him didn't wait for thought. It reacted instantly. One step forward, then another. The moment the first alien moved aggressively, Goku's body exploded into action. No transformation, no warning, just pure speed. One strike landed and the alien dropped instantly. Silence. The others froze, and for a split second, Goku did too. because something inside him reacted in a way that terrified him. Not guilt, not regret, something else. Satisfaction. He stepped back slowly, his breathing uneven, shaking his head. No, I didn't mean to, but the feeling didn't disappear. Instead, it lingered, growing quietly in the background of his mind like a voice that didn't belong to him. The remaining aliens ran in fear, but Goku didn't chase them. He stood still, fists clenched, trying to understand what was happening inside his own body. Far away in space, Frieza observed the results through distant sensors, a small smile forming on his face. "It's working faster than expected," he murmured. But what Frieza didn't realize was simple. He didn't just change Goku's power. He changed how Goku feels power. And somewhere deep inside that fractured mind, the real Goku was still there, watching, trapped, and slowly realizing that the monster forming on the outside was starting to listen to something darker within. The silence after the first kill should have brought relief, but instead it brought something heavier, something that pressed into Goku's mind like a second heartbeat that didn't belong to him. He stood alone on the dead moon, staring at his hands again, waiting for guilt to arrive the way it always had after a mistake, after loss, after pain, but it didn't come the same way. There was guilt, yes, faint and distant like an echo trapped behind glass, but underneath it was something far more disturbing, a calm acceptance that didn't feel natural. His breathing slowed, but his thoughts didn't. They moved differently now, sharper, more fragmented, like instinct and memory were arguing inside his skull. Somewhere deep in space, Frieza had already stopped watching closely. To him, the transformation was complete enough. Goku was no longer just a Saiyan warrior. He was becoming a weapon that would refine itself through experience. That was the real horror of it. No further control needed. No leash required. Just time. And time was exactly what Goku now had. He tried to leave the moon, powering up to fly, but his energy didn't rise smoothly like before. It surged unevenly, like a storm trying to form inside a cracked container. When he lifted off the ground, the force cracked the surface beneath him, but the motion felt wrong, as if his body was responding faster than his intention. He didn't feel fully in control anymore. It wasn't possession. It was distortion. His direction in space came from something deeper than thought, like an animal instinct pulling him toward survival, toward conflict, toward something he couldn't name. Hours later, he found another drifting wreck in space, a broken transport ship torn open by old battles. He should have passed it. There was no reason to go inside, but his body moved anyway. Inside, the air was thin and cold, alarms still blinking from systems long dead. He walked through the corridors slowly, footsteps echoing, senses alert in a way they had never been before. Then he felt it. Life. Weak, scared, hiding. 3 survivors. Human-like species trembling behind a sealed door. Goku stopped in front of it, his hand raised without instruction, and for a moment he hesitated. "I don't need to do this," he whispered to himself. "They're not a threat." But something inside him answered without words. Not logic, not speech, just pressure. A demand. The door exploded inward, the survivors screamed. And Goku moved before he even decided to. One step, one strike. The impact shattered the metal wall beside them instead of hitting them directly. He froze instantly. His fist was inches away from one of them, a terrified figure staring at him in pure shock. Goku's eyes widened. His hand was shaking. "Stop," he said quietly, but not sure if he was talking to them or himself. He pulled back slowly, breathing uneven, stepping away like he had touched fire. The survivors didn't wait. They ran past him, escaping into the broken ship corridors. Goku didn't chase them. He stood still again, shaking his head harder now. That wasn't me." But even as he said it, he wasn't fully sure anymore, because the feeling was still there. That split-second instinct, that surge of power, that almost satisfaction from destruction. It didn't feel like evil. That was the worst part. It felt natural. Far away, Frieza finally reviewed a delayed data stream from the moon encounter. His expression shifted slightly as he replayed the moment Goku hesitated before striking. "Still fragments of resistance," Frieza muttered. "Interesting." He leaned back in his chair, fingers tapping lightly. "It means the original personality isn't gone yet, it's trapped underneath." That made Frieza smile more, because trapped meant usable. Goku left the ship soon after, but now something had changed. The universe didn't feel like space anymore. It felt like signals. Every presence, every life form, every emotion around him came as pressure waves in his mind. Fear felt sharp. Aggression felt warm. And something terrifying began forming inside him, patterns. He could sense danger before it happened, not through thought but through reaction. He could feel weaker beings like distant flickers of instability. And worse, he could feel stronger ones as challenges. Not enemies, not threats, challenges. His path through space slowly became less random. He began moving toward conflict zones without knowing why. Small battles at first, pirates, mercenaries, criminal factions in broken systems. Each encounter followed the same pattern. Goku would arrive confused, try to restrain himself, and then something inside would trigger under stress. And every time it happened, the control became a little weaker. After each fight, he would stand alone again, staring at destruction he didn't fully remember choosing. "Why do I keep doing this?" he asked once into the empty void. No answer came, only silence. But deep inside his mind, something was starting to answer for him instead. A voice that wasn't words, a feeling that wasn't thought, a direction. And that direction was growing stronger every time he resisted it. Somewhere in the distance, Frieza's plan was evolving perfectly, but even he didn't realize the full consequence yet. Because what he had created wasn't just a corrupted warrior. It was a consciousness split in two directions, one fighting to remain Goku, and one learning how to survive without him. And neither side was willing to lose anymore. The more Goku traveled through space, the less it felt like he was choosing where to go. At first, he believed he was still making decisions, still guiding himself, still holding onto some form of control. But that belief started breaking in small moments, moments where he would decide to leave a place, only to realize later that his body had already been moving before the thought finished forming. It was subtle, almost invisible at first, like a shadow shifting behind his mind. He landed on a fractured asteroid belt where pirate ships had been scavenging wreckage. Normally, he would have tried to avoid unnecessary fights, but before he could even assess the situation, his presence was already detected and chaos began. The pirates opened fire immediately. Goku didn't think. He reacted, one step forward. The air cracked. The first ship exploded from a single strike that wasn't even fully intentional. His body moved like it already knew what to do, faster than his awareness could follow. Inside his mind, something flickered again, that same strange satisfaction from before. But now it wasn't just a feeling. It was anticipation. He stopped mid-motion, breathing heavily. "No, stop," he muttered, pulling his fist back as if trying to undo what his body was already doing. The remaining ships tried to escape, but Goku's senses locked onto them automatically. He could feel their fear like vibrations in the air, sharp and loud in his mind. Each pulse made something inside him tighten, not with anger but with focus. Another part of him, deeper, colder, was organizing the chaos into targets, movements, outcomes. He clenched his teeth and forced himself to stop. The ships escaped. The asteroid field went silent again. Goku stood there trembling. "I let them go," he whispered, almost relieved. But then came the second thought, uninvited, sharp and immediate. You could have ended it faster. He shook his head violently. "That's not me." But the voice didn't argue, it didn't need to, because now it was becoming part of how he thought, not just something separate in his mind. Days passed like that, or maybe hours. Time was starting to blur in space. Goku avoided larger civilizations now, afraid of what might happen if he lost control again. But avoidance didn't help. The more he resisted combat, the more intense the internal pressure became. His body felt restless, like a storm held inside a container too small. Then came the encounter that changed everything again. A fractured planet, still partially alive, still holding a failing ecosystem. He landed there to rest, to breathe, to try and think clearly. For a brief moment it almost felt normal. Wind, ground, silence. But then he felt it, a presence approaching, strong, confident, not afraid. He turned slowly. A group of elite hunters stood on the horizon, armored and prepared. They had been tracking energy anomalies across sectors, and Goku was the strongest anomaly they had ever found. "There he is," one of them said, "the broken Saiyan experiment." The word *experiment hit something inside him. Not anger yet, something worse. Recognition. They attacked immediately. Energy blasts filled the sky. Goku raised his hand instinctively, blocking without thinking. The impact pushed him back, carving deep lines into the ground beneath his feet. And then it started again. That shift. That familiar, dangerous transition from thought to instinct. His aura flickered unstable, darker than before, pulsing like a heartbeat that didn't match his own. "Stop," he whispered again, but his voice was already fatting under the rising pressure. One hunter rushed him. Goku dodged, but not cleanly, too fast, too sharp, too precise. His counterstrike landed and the attacker was thrown across the landscape like a broken object. Silence followed for half a second, and in that half-second Goku felt it again. That reaction inside him, that strange alignment where power and outcome felt correct. The others hesitated. That hesitation sealed their fate, not because Goku decided to end them, but because his body already understood how. The battle ended quickly, too quickly. When it was over, Goku stood alone again, the wind moving through the broken land, bodies and wreckage scattered around him. He didn't look proud. He didn't look satisfied this time either. Instead, he looked confused in a deeper way than before, because something had changed. The voice inside him wasn't just reacting anymore. It was learning, adapting, improving. "Why do I get stronger every time this happens?" he asked quietly, almost pleading with the empty sky. No answer came. But somewhere far beyond the planet, Frieza was finally noticing a pattern in the data. Goku wasn't just becoming more violent, he was becoming more efficient. Every encounter removed hesitation. Every fight reduced emotional delay. Every conflict sharpened instinct over morality. "It's accelerating," Frieza said to himself, narrowing his eyes at the screen. "The Saiyan nature is rewriting itself without external input." He leaned forward slightly. So the question becomes, what happens when there is nothing left to resist? Back on the planet, Goku knelt down, pressing a hand into the ground. He closed his eyes, trying to reach something familiar. Kai, Gohan, Earth. But the images were fading, not gone, just harder to access, like memories buried under layers of interference. And underneath all of it, that other presence inside him didn't feel distant anymore. It felt close, present, patient, waiting. Goku opened his eyes slowly. The sky above him looked normal, but nothing inside him felt normal anymore. "I have to fix this," he whispered. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure which part of him had spoken. And somewhere deep in his mind, something quietly agreed, but not for the same reason. The silence after the last battle didn't feel like peace anymore. It felt like waiting. Goku stood alone on the ruined world, staring at the horizon where smoke slowly faded into the sky. Bodies were gone now, scavenged by wind, time, and distance, but the memory of what had happened stayed sharper than anything else. He could still feel the moment his body moved faster than his thoughts, the instant where hesitation disappeared completely, and instinct took over like it had always been there. That was the part that scared him most, not the destruction, not the enemies, but how natural it felt. He clenched his fist slowly. "This isn't training," he said quietly. "This isn't getting stronger." His voice trailed off because even he didn't fully believe the rest of the sentence. Somewhere inside, something answered without words. Not a voice he could hear anymore, something deeper now. A structure forming inside his instincts. A pattern. The thing Frieza had planted wasn't just altering behavior anymore. It was refining response. Every battle Goku survived didn't just make him stronger, it made him faster at becoming what the situation demanded. And that meant less hesitation and less Goku in the middle. Light suddenly shifted across the ground. Goku looked up. A ship descended from orbit, massive and unfamiliar, marked with insignias of a galactic enforcement faction. They had come for him, not to study. Not to negotiate, to contain. The hatch opened and armed fighters stepped out, all energy weapons locked onto his position. "Subject identified," one of them called out. "Frieza-class anomaly detected. Engage containment protocol." The words hit Goku differently now, not emotionally but structurally. His mind didn't react with anger first. It processed, classified, prioritized, threat level rising. Before he could even question the thought, his body shifted slightly forward. "I don't want to fight you," he said immediately, voice firm, almost desperate. One of the soldiers hesitated. "He's speaking normally." Doesn't matter, another replied. The file says he adapts under stress, eliminate quickly. The first shot came. Goku moved instantly, but not the way he used to. It wasn't dodge, then counter. It was already asterisk positioned before the attack finished forming. The blast missed him completely, striking the ground behind him. And then it happened again, that internal shift. Faster this time, cleaner, more precise. His aura didn't erupt violently. It stabilized into something controlled but unfamiliar, like pressure contained in perfect balance. The soldiers advanced, firing in synchronized bursts. Goku moved through them, not rushing, not panicking, just adjusting position after position as if the battlefield was already mapped in his mind. One soldier fell, then another. Then silence again. Too fast. Too efficient. Goku stopped mid-motion. His breathing was steady. That was new. He looked at his hands. I didn't hesitate, he whispered. But this time there was no shock in his voice, only observation. Behind the emotion, something else was analyzing the result. He didn't notice it fully, but his thoughts were starting to split in layers. One layer felt like Goku, confused, resistant, trying to hold onto identity. Another layer felt like something else, cold, adaptive, always evaluating outcomes. The ship above him began to withdraw, sending a transmission. Subject is not resisting containment pattern, adjust classification, evolving threat. Goku looked up at it slowly. Threat. That word didn't trigger rage anymore, it triggered understanding, because somewhere inside him that label made sense in a way it shouldn't have. I'm not a threat, he said softly, but even as he said it, his mind added something uninvited, not yet optimized. He shook his head immediately. No. Stop thinking like that. The sky flickered as the ship disappeared into orbit. Goku stood alone again, but something had changed. The internal resistance, the push and pull between who he was and what he was becoming, was no longer chaotic. It was organizing, like two systems trying to synchronize instead of destroy each other. Far away, Frieza observed updated behavioral logs, his expression slowly shifting from amusement to focus. So the resistance layer is still active, he muttered. But it's no longer dominant. He leaned back, studying the projections. Interesting, it's coexisting. That word mattered more than he realized, because coexistence meant stability, and stability meant the experiment was no longer random, it was evolving into structure. Back on the ruined world, Goku began walking again, not aimlessly this time. There was direction forming, subtle but undeniable. He didn't know why he was moving, only that staying still felt incorrect. His senses stretched outward, picking up faint signals across space, conflicts, energy spikes, survival pressure zones. He stopped briefly. Why can I feel that? He asked himself. No answer came, but his body already started turning toward it. He froze. No, I'm not going to just follow that. He tried to resist. He really did, but resistance now felt different. It didn't feel like stopping an action. It felt like delaying something inevitable, and that was the most terrifying part. Because even when he resisted, the direction didn't disappear. It just waited, patient, learning. And somewhere deep inside his fractured mind, the second layer of thought became clearer for the first time. Not a monster, not a voice, but a system trying to survive in the most efficient way possible, using Goku's body as the interface. Goku looked at the sky again, breathing slowly. I need to go home, he said firmly. This time, both layers of his mind responded. One agreed with hope. The other analyzed the probability of success, and neither of them dismissed the idea anymore, which meant the next step would not be random, it would be chosen.